in my brain, I related the feeling and euphoria that I got from Percocets to the hugs that I got from my grandmother as a child. That warmth, that love, that chemical feeling is what opiates did for me.
How long were you in active addiction? Decade, 15 years?
Couple decades.
So those 20 years, like, summarize it for us. What did it consist of?
All right. It started off as just social activities, you know, going to the weekend parties, maybe smoking some weed on the way to school. And then as I got a little bit older, a little bit of powder came out as maybe sophomore year, but that was only on the weekends, maybe once a month or so. And then I don't know if you guys remember Casper's. Do you remember the teen night?
Do I remember?
Yeah, so I was spending a lot of time out in Casper's in Perrysburg, you know, and that's where cocaine really started to take off and become a part of my life, as well as ecstasy. And once I found though Percocets, it was like being hugged by God. The feeling.
Wow.
And I think that in my brain, I related the feeling and euphoria that I got from Percocets to the hugs that I got from my grandmother as a child, right? Because that warmth, that love, that chemical feeling that you got naturally as a kid is what opiates did for me later on in life. And so by the time I by the time I was on Percocets, all right, I was just eating them for a few years, and then I was going with a friend, went out of town one time, and we were going out of town to make a larger drug deal in Marion, Ohio. And I was like, I've been up for 3 days because we were doing what we were supposed to take and selling. And the guy's like, well, here, do one of these. And he flipped me a tan little pill. I didn't know what it was. So out came a hose clamp, and somebody started using them. And if you know what that is, it was a 40 milligram oxy. And when I did that, it was like, I thought that Percocet was like being hugged by God. Yeah. This was like...
You got hugged by God and your grandma at the same time.
Right? At the same time, you know? And I'm like, where have you been all my life? You know, now... And so that took over for a couple years, and I didn't even know what withdrawals were, right? I didn't understand what withdrawals could be until one day I couldn't find any Oxycontin. Dr. Hall got busted.
Yeah,
you remember that? All right, you remember Dr. Hall? He had the East Side. East Side was ground zero for this stuff, man, and it was flooded from there. And Dr. Hall got busted. There was no Oxycontins around. And it took a couple weeks for the Detroit boys to come down when they came. I mean, I'm going into some historical facts here. For this addiction historical facts. You know, that's a part of my story. This is my truth. And when I couldn't find no Oxycontins, now it felt like I was being touched by the devil.
Yeah.
I went from being hugged by God and my grandmother to being beat by the devil from that feeling. You know, no sleeping, legs and arms twitching, not having no idea what was going on.